Ever since SudoSwap announced that they would be making fees optional back in August, the debate has raged in NFT land. Should NFT marketplaces honor royalties? Some say that skipping royalties is unthinkable and an immoral betrayal of the social contract with creators. Others say that royalty fees are just a tax on transactions in most cases, and are glad to leave them behind. Who's right? Who's wrong? Are royalties good or bad for NFTs? Can NFTs survive this? When will the Fed pivot? All these questions, well, except for the last one, will be answered in this video presenting 3 uncomfortable truths about NFT royalties. Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Tenner aka Swombat, and in these videos I use my 15 years of experience as a successful entrepreneur working with hundreds of other tech startup founders to bring some clarity to Web3 and NFTs so we can all make better investment decisions. Let's get straight into it with uncomfortable truth number 1. Creators are not all the same. There's a huge gulf between an artist like Xcopy grinding away at his art on Tumblr from all the way back in 2014, or selling his first NFT for just £1 back in 2018, and your average PFP project, which is usually just a poorly defined, badly structured company that is at worst a Ponzi scam and at best a startup figuring out a new funding mechanism. They are not the same. Their relationship to royalties is very different. Now, royalties are a complicated topic with a rich history. I think it's quite helpful to actually know that history before using the term. Originally, royalties were paid by gold and silver miners to the king as a tax to be allowed to make new coins. They went to the king, le roi, hence royalties. Much later, royalties emerged as part of the push to create a new thing called intellectual property. Back in the late 18th century, the US Congress, which otherwise hated anything that looked like a monopoly, which is what copyright is, by the way, decided to make a very limited exception to allow authors and inventors a limited monopoly on their creations, so they would be more likely to share them with the world. This was in part to protect writers like Mark Twain, who at the time might write a hugely popular book but not see a dime from it, since publishers would just print the book and resell it without paying the author anything. The point of it was to balance the downside of granting monopolies with the upside of incentivizing creators. It's all about balance. Things have moved forward a lot since then. First of all, many other forms of art are now covered. Also, the Berne Convention in 1886 connected up the system internationally and ensured that all creators of any kind of artistic work are automatically protected by copyright law. There are huge and subtle differences between how copyrights and royalties work for writers versus composers, musicians, producers, lyricists, poets, painters, illustrators, actors, designers, architects, engineers, and so on. All of those people are creatives who produce copyrighted works, but they are treated very differently. In short, it's a very complex topic. What is fair to say in all those cases though, and that applies to NFT art as well, is that some sort of balance needs to be struck each time between allowing everyone to copy things freely and paying the artist something. Whether that balance includes royalties or not is a totally valid debate, one that's worth having over and over again, and one that definitely won't be resolved in this YouTube, or possibly even this lifetime. Personally, I err on the side of wanting artists to get royalties for resales of their visual art, even though they already got paid when they initially sold the art. However, there's a world of difference between all these artists and the people running PFP collections. Those are basically following the Kickstarter on steroids model pioneered by Bay. They're building startups, getting VC funding, and in some still rather all too rare cases, building some kind of product. Here, the NFTs are basically a lot like shares, though they probably shouldn't be since they lack a lot of the legal protections of shares, and they are bought and sold mostly for investment and trading purposes. In some rare cases, some people buy the NFT for the utility, but most of those projects don't actually have real utility yet. This is a very different situation than NFTs as art. As Kobe and Punk6529 put it, NFTs are a lot like altcoins with pictures. And altcoins that impose a transaction tax are rightly regarded as absolute scams. Because PFP NFTs originally grew out of the NFT art world, people have confused those two fields, but they really are not the same. Art royalties are possibly a good thing, but altcoin transaction taxes are definitely not, even if they have pictures attached. As for PFP projects needing the royalties in order to be incentivized to continue building, which is something I hear way too often. Bullshit. What about those millions of dollars of mint money that you collected? Where did that go? That's your incentive, mate. That's your seed funding. You raised millions of dollars. Now go build something of value with that. Once you've made some progress, if you find you need more, then you can do another round. But in the meantime, learn to manage your cash and build something worthwhile with all that seed money. My second startup operated for 3 years on £140,000 of funding. And those projects are whining that they can't keep building after raising millions. Sheesh. That's truth number 1. Artists and PFP projects are not the same. with regards to royalties. It might seem fairly harmless for NFT artists or even PFP founders who don't understand the first uncomfortable truth to take steps to ensure the NFTs are only traded in ways that result in royalties being paid. But it's not. Ways that have been mulled so far include blacklisting of marketplaces that make royalties optional, which has actually been implemented by some projects already, whitelisting, where only marketplaces that honor royalties are allowed, and even more complicated systems preventing rappers from basically circumventing all this. It's like an arms race, and much like other arms races, it doesn't end in a safe or well for anyone. In this case, it's even worse than what would already be bad, which is making an already complex system even more bizarrely complicated, which will obviously put off newcomers. It also undermines the entire concept of what it is artists are selling. This is why I would strongly advise artists not to enter this arms race at all, and realize that mostly the people who don't want to pay royalties are just traders and flippers, rather than collectors. So they were not really a valid part of the artist market anyway. They only bought the art to speculate on it. Most of the debate isn't about the artists, it's about the PFP projects, so just stay out of it if you can. See, the problem is, over the last couple of years, we've managed a minor miracle. We've convinced a whole bunch of people that lines in a database are the same thing as owning a thing physically. That buying a piece of art as an NFT is basically just like buying a signed print from the creator or even an original unique painting, even though the reality is this item is a digital item and can be copied infinitely, unlike a physical item. Yet we've successfully argued that the authentic, unfalsifiable proof of ownership is where the value resides. This battle is by no means fully won yet. Most people in the world don't have a clue about NFTs or why owning one might be equivalent to owning a piece of art. But the idea is spreading. So what's the problem with escalating royalty protections? Well, they seriously undermine the concept of digital ownership. One important characteristic of things that I own is that I can do whatever I want with it. I can put it on my wall, I can store it in a closet, I can urinate on it, I can burn it, or I can give it to a friend, or indeed I can take it to a marketplace of my choosing, which might then agree to list it for me. At no point in this journey does the artist who created the painting get to have a say in what I do with it. With the blacklisting, and even more with the whitelisting and other solutions that creators are coming up with, this concept is being undermined. One is left wondering, what exactly have I bought? Is it really mine? If I can't actually do what I want with it, what I really have here is a license to use the item under certain allowed circumstances, not a thing that I own. I might as well own it on Facebook then. There's not really a difference. At least Facebook has a convenient interface. People love to feel that they own things. Undermine that at your peril. It could actually destroy what is so far the most useful thing to have come out of NFTs, a global digital art marketplace. So that's truth number 2. Trying to prevent zero royalty sales, which are mostly a big problem for PFP projects, could end up destroying NFT art altogether. And finally, let's look at the third truth. In the greater scheme of things, this doesn't matter very much. Of course, it matters a lot to NFT artists and current collectors of their art, and it matters to PFP projects and their investors and traders. But as I've argued a year ago, NFTs as they currently are might seem like they're a big thing, and that whatever they become in the future will grow out of this current field as it is now, but it probably won't happen like that. One fascinating idea I encountered in Zeneka's 333 Club recently was that we shouldn't look to onboard people to Web3. Instead, we should be looking to bring Web3's benefits to everyone. Go where the people are, and those hundreds of millions of people who will have Web3 brought to them will not really care or possibly even know of terms like NFTs or Web3 or even royalties. They'll just discover the benefits of owning things online, hopefully on decentralized platforms like Ethereum. This is what's happening with Reddit at the moment, which, without mentioning the word NFT, basically set up Polygon wallets for millions of their users, 3 million at this point, which is more than the total number of OpenSea traders ever. Or Starbucks, which will also bring 27 million users to their loyalty program, who also will mostly not ever know about these raging debates about royalties and marketplaces. This is the future of NFTs, a vast ocean that will be colonized by people who don't care about any of this. By comparison, the whole NFT space as it is now is a teacup, and the royalty debate that is keeping us so busy is the proverbial storm in a teacup. By the way, when those masses come into Web3, far from boosting our current crop of NFT projects, one of the things that is likely to happen is that most of the NFTs that we've been calling blue chips are going to see their floor prices crash very hard. If you'd like to know why I think so, check out this video. GM and good luck.